Hi guys, this is O-level chemistry, paper 11, November 2016, question 1. A student is given only the nucleon number of an atom. What can be deduced about the structure of the atom? Number of neutrons plus protons? Yes, that is what the nucleon number is. It is the sum of the neutrons and the protons present. So this is correct. Number of neutrons only, that cannot be found out without knowing the atomic number. Number of protons plus electrons, that cannot be found out without knowing the atomic number. And number of protons only, number of protons is equal to the atomic number. So the correct option for this question is option A. Question 2. Two experiments were carried out. In experiment 1, ammonium carbonate was reacted with dilute hydrochloric acid. In experiment 2, ammonium carbonate was heated with aqueous sodium hydroxide. In each experiment, the gas evolved was tested with damp blue litmus paper and damp red litmus paper. Which row correctly shows the color of both the pieces of litmus paper at the end of each experiment? Okay, so in experiment 1, we have got ammonium carbonate, which is an acidic salt, added to hydrochloric acid. So this reaction will not occur because both the species involved are acidic in nature. So when heated, the gas evolved would be gaseous HCl, which would turn damp blue litmus red and will have no effect on damp red litmus paper. So in experiment 1, both the litmus paper will turn red or will stay red. So options A and B have been eliminated. In experiment 2, ammonium carbonate, which is acidic, will react with sodium hydroxide, which is basic, to liberate ammonia gas, and ammonia will turn red litmus blue, and the blue litmus will stay blue because no acidic gas is being evolved. So option C is correct. Option D is eliminated, making option C the correct option for this question. Question 3. A paper chromatography experiment is carried out to find an RF value of Fe3 positive aqueous ion. The result is shown. Which row correctly completes gaps 1 and 2? So to make the spot containing Fe3 plus aqueous ions more visible, the paper is sprayed with aqueous sodium hydroxide so that the precipitate of iron 3 hydroxide forms. Under the conditions of the experiment, the RF of Fe3 plus is given by, so this would be the distance traveled by the solute, which is X, divided by the distance traveled by the solvent, which is Y. And the color of the precipitate is, since iron hydroxide will form and it is iron 3 hydroxide, the color would be red brown. So now to find the correct data for each gap, so it should be X upon Y, which is there in options A and B, eliminating options C and D. And the color should be red brown and not green, making option A the correct option for this question. Question 4. The graph gives the melting points of mixtures of lead and tin. So the melting point of pure lead is the highest out of all the mixtures, while the melting point of pure tin is between some of the melting points of the mixtures. Okay. So the graph shows that any mixture of lead and tin must have a melting point that is above that of tin. No, we've got mixture that have a melting point lower than tin. Below that of lead, yes, lead has got the maximum melting point. So the melting point of any mixture, including pure tin, is lower than the melting point of lead. So this is correct. Below that of both tin and lead, no, there are some that are higher than tin but lesser than lead. And between that of tin and lead, so these are the same ones that are higher than tin and lesser than lead. So the correct option for this question is option B. Question 5. Some students wrote three statements about the bonding in a molecule of ammonia. A nitrogen atom has three outer electrons, so all outer electrons are involved in bonding. No, it has five outer electrons. So this statement is incorrect. A nitrogen atom has five outer electrons, so two outer electrons are not involved in bonding. Yes, this is correct. A nitrogen atom shares electrons with each of three hydrogen atoms. Yes, all NH bonds are covalent bonds. So since statements 2 and 3 are correct, option C is the correct option for this question. Question 6. Which diagram correctly shows the arrangement of the ions in solid sodium chloride? So the arrangement in an ionic lattice is such that every cation is surrounded by anions and every anion is surrounded by cations. So in structure A, we've got a sodium surrounded by chloride ions with attraction between them, and we've got a chloride surrounded by sodium ions with attraction between them. So structure A is correct. Structure B is incorrect because we have got a sodium ion having a chloride on one side and a sodium ion on the other side. So it will attract the chloride ion but will repel the sodium ion. So this structure is incorrect. Structure C has all the sodiums placed together and all the chlorides placed together. So there will be a lot of repulsion in this structure and a very little attraction because we have got sodium and chloride placed next to each other in some places. So this structure is also incorrect. And structure D has two chloride ions next to each other and two sodium ions next to each other. So they will be repelling each other because of their position. So structure D is also incorrect, making option A the correct option for this question. Question 7. The table shows some properties of four solid elements. Which element could be graphite? Now, since graphite is a covalent macromolecule, it will have a very high melting point. So, very high melting points are 3550 and 4750. This eliminates options A and C. But graphite also conducts electricity. Option B says that the electrical conductivity is good, whereas option D says that the electrical conductivity is poor, making option D incorrect and option B the correct option for this question. Question 8. Which statement about chlorine atoms and chloride ions is correct? So we've got a chlorine atom and a chloride ion. Both have a proton number of 17 and a mass number of 35.5. So they are both isotopes of chlorine? No, they are not isotopes of chlorine because isotopes have different number of neutrons and same number of electrons and protons. In chloride ion, there is one additional electron as compared to the chlorine atom. So this statement is incorrect. They undergo the same chemical reactions? No. Chlorine undergoes reduction to form chloride ions and chloride ions are oxidized to form chlorine. So they undergo different chemical reactions. They have the same number of protons? Yes, both have a proton number of 17. And they have the same physical properties? No. Chlorine is a diatomic gas, whereas chloride ions are part of an ionic lattice. So they have very much different physical properties. So this makes option C the correct option for this question. Question 9. Four gases are listed: methane, ammonia, carbon dioxide, and nitrogen. 1 mole of each gas is allowed to diffuse. What is the order of their rate of diffusion at room temperature and pressure? Since the temperature is maintained at RTP, the diffusion would depend on the mass of the gaseous molecules, which would be equivalent to their MR. So the MR of methane would be 12 plus 4, 16. That of ammonia would be 14 plus 3, 17. That of carbon dioxide will be 12 plus 32 gives 44. And that of nitrogen will be 14 into 2 is 28. So the gas that would diffuse the fastest would be CH4, which is followed by NH3, which is followed by nitrogen, which is followed by carbon dioxide. So the fastest diffusion will be that of ammonia, and the slowest diffusion will be that of carbon dioxide. And all of this is based on their MR values when the temperature is kept constant. So this order, now CH4 should be the fastest. So the fastest has one mentioned in option C. So one should be followed by two, which is before one. That is also there in option C. Four should be before two, and the slowest one should be three. So this order, this correct order is present in option C, making C the correct option for this question. Question 10. Which diagram best represents the structure of a solid metal? A metal has a series of positive charges surrounded by a sea of delocalized electrons. So in A, we've got positive and negative ions spread out. This is not the structure of a metal. In B, we have delocalized electrons present in between the positive ions. This is the structure of a metal. C, we have regularly arranged electrons and positive ions. So electrons are not delocalized. So this is not the structure of a metal. And in D, all the positive charges are together and all of them are surrounded by electrons. This is not the structure of a metal. So the correct option for this question is option B.